is there any movement tech that would almost be impossible to get discovered by someone else if they were never discovered by their inventor at the first place? Let's dig it. We're going to be using Moki Sniper's website just to showcase the movement tags. I want to start with an S tier movement tag just to give you an idea on which factors I will use in order to decide which tag is harder to get discovered. And the first S tier movement tag is going to be absolutely super gliding. There are actually two major factors that I use. The first one, is it easy to get in your games accidentally? And when it comes to super gliding, I don't think so. Think about it. It's like you have to jump and crouch at the same time, but not exactly at the same time. There has to be one frame time only. Like, I don't know if it's exactly one frame time. Probably not, but like, let's say one frame time, okay? Not only that, you have to input these at the correct time during your mantling animation. There are just so many conditions to it. It's so complex. I don't think it's easy to get replicated in your games accidentally. And the second one is the idea. Is it easy to get the idea that is required to discover it? Think about it. When you discover super gliding, let's say you don't discover it by accident. You just go there, you have the idea, you go firing range and you just do it with the idea you have. That idea is crazy. That's out of minds because you have to have the idea of jumping and crouching at the same time, but not exactly at the same time. Also inputting those at the correct timing during the mantling animation. Like, what the hell? Who would even think of that? Yeah, actually there's a high chance that we would not have this movement tag even right now if it was never discovered by Verse. So props to him. I'm actually so thankful to Verse for discovering this. Imagine the game without super gliding. Isn't that crazy? Even the controller players are using this movement tag. Literally every single player over average level is using this movement tag. It's crazy. And we would not have this. No super glide. Doesn't exist. Okay, next up we have Faide Sliding. Faide Slide is, in my opinion, very easy to get it by accident in your games. By a lot of people, there's not much into it. All you have to do is just crouch and then slide with the correct time, and that correct time is not that tight. I think it just goes to the E tier because it would just be a matter of time for other people to discover it. Okay, Faide Slide, it goes to the E tier. Ghost Strafe. Ghost Strafe is a controller movement. I think it would just take a few months for other people to discover it. Ghost Strafe, okay. The next one is Skip Jumping. Skip Jumping is also one of those movement tags that you would get accidentally in your games, because whenever you mess up your slide jump timing, you could just get it by accident. I think it just goes to the C tier also. Where are you? Skip Jumping. Slidehop Heal. I think it just goes to the E tier. There's no need to talk about it that much. It's just so simple, right? Slidehop Heal. End Strafe. End Strafe is a movement tag that you climb, but then right before your climbing ends, you input a sideways input, which increases your maximum climb height. And this is also easy to get it in your games accidentally. And just because of that, I would say a few months. End Strafe. The next one is wall walking, and it was discovered by JD Dersil, right? And it's using the mantle cancel mechanic. You just cancel the mantle and sideways wall run, and you're just doing it infinitely. But having this idea at the first place in order to discover this movement tag is, in my opinion, not that easy to have. And also, it's not really easy to get it by accident in your games. It's actually so rare to get it by accident. So it just makes its tier very high, like B. Like, it could just take almost a year for someone else to discover it. Okay, the next one is Infinite Climb. This is so stupid, right? I don't think it's easy to get it by accident in your games. Just by accident, would you do that? Would you go to a corner like this and give your back to that corner and then just keep jumping? I don't think so. You need to have the idea in order to discover this movement tag. Like, where should we put it? Could take a year, right? Yeah, and analog climbing. Another controller movement tag. I think it's very easy to get it by accident in your games, so it just increases the curiosity, you know? The idea to do this is also not complex. You're like Instead of doing it like sideways with your analog, you're just like just a bit up, like diagonal, you know. Yeah, matter of time in my opinion. And the next one is climb lock. Okay, it's actually an interesting tech. You have to look at a certain angle on the wall. If you look just a bit left or right with your camera angle, you're going to fail at this movement tech. And also you have to input some keys with the correct timing. It's not only the angle when it comes to conditions. This is absolutely not something you would get by accident in your games. No, this movement tech is so complex to even think about, okay? It easily goes to the S tier. We should actually shout out to the inventor of it. Yeah, there we go. So S tier. Okay, now we have wall bounces. Basic wall bounce, we just skip it because it's basic. Mini bounce, basic. The Jumpfatigue Wallbounce. Yeah, this is a movement tech that I discovered in the past, but I think it would only take a few months for someone else to discover it. But the main reason I say only a few months is that it's just easy to get in your games accidentally. So it goes to the C tier. Okay. Alright, the next technique is Normal Bounce. So the first question we need to ask is it easy to get it in your games by accident? And the answer is absolutely no. And the second question is it easy to have the idea you need to have in order to discover this movement tech? And that answer is also no. You have to think like, what if I look at a certain angle on the object, and then just because of that certain angle, I will not trigger mantling animation, and just because of that, it will let me wall bounce. Like, good luck with that. It literally goes to the A tier. It could take a few years. No more bounce, no more bounce. Let's go. Okay, what's next? U-bounce. U-bounce was also found by Yggdrasil. So first off, it's not easy to replicate in your games accidentally a lot. When you go for a wall bounce, when you jump on a wall, you're just jumping immediately off the wall because you want a wall bounce. Or you just climb. Like, you don't know this movement tech. Like, I'm talking about before the discovery of this, okay? Imagine you're playing your games. Imagine 1000 games, okay? And I don't know, thousands of times you going towards a wall and trying to do a wall bounce or whatever you were trying and getting this shit by accident. I'm telling you, you don't get it by accident. And the second reason is the idea is too hard. You're literally climbing back up. You're making up the height that you just lost after your jump towards your first touch on the wall. You're making up that height by climbing back up on the wall to the correct climb zone so you can just wall bounce. Bro, this is S tier. Yggdrasil, thank you for finding this. Okay. And now we have punch boosting. This was actually after the removal of OG punch boosting. So a lot of people were already curious about new ways of punch boosting. So people were just digging for new ways. Because of that, I think it was just a matter of time for this movement tech to get discovered by someone else, okay? E tier. And next up is Wall Hop. Wall Hop is interesting. It could easily go to the S tier if this didn't exist in other games. As you can see here, wall hopping, it's just saying that it's used in a bunch of source games, okay, other games, and even referring Half-Life 2, right? It could take a year. It's not that simple. Yeah, it just goes to the B tier. And the next one is wall bug. Wall bug is a weird one. You're just, I don't know, vibing on the wall. I think even the use case of it says the exact same thing. As you can see, vibing on the wall. It was already used in another game, so all you had to do was just to implement this existing movement tech to Apex, right? This should just go to the B tier. Okay, Climb Stun-cancel. I think this is very easy to get in your games, like easy to think about it. I think it doesn't deserve to go to the list. But the corner stun-cancel is actually much more complex. And the idea of this movement tech that you need to have in order to discover it is not that easy to have, right? It's also not a movement tech that you would get in your games accidentally a lot. Yeah, I think it could take a few years. Corner stun cancel. Okay, auto mantle. In order to do this, all you have to do is just accidentally holding down the jump key in one of your games and just mantle somewhere. That's it. So it just goes to the E tier. Yeah. Insta Mantle. This is just mantling on tiny objects like this one on the ground by holding down the jump key. After the discovery of auto mantling, people probably got this by accident a lot because they were just holding down that jump key and they were just practicing auto mantling, okay? And they accidentally mantled these type of tiny ledges on the ground, right? And they were like, holy moly, this works on tiny ledges too. Kind of harder than auto mantle, so I would just put it on the D tier. Mantle cancel. It's kind of basic, so just skip that. Basic. Normal climb. We already looked at normal bounce and it's so similar, so we're just gonna skip it. And clamber. Okay, this is more complex than it looks. So the question we need to ask is it easy to get in your games accidentally a lot? I think it's not a lot, but maybe sometimes. Another point is, let's say it happens to you. You know, by accident you get this. Would you notice what just happened? I think it's very hard. Like, you need to be a very knowledgeable person in movement in order to notice what just happened. This object above the rampart queue helping you to mantle a high place that you would normally not be able to. Someone else would find this like in almost a year. Clamber. So we already put Superglide on S tier. Okay, Insta-Glide. So Insta-Glide is actually not a tech that you would get accidentally in your games even once, because it's so complex. It's using the Insta Mantle mechanic. You have to turn 180 right before you walk off a ledge and then mantle, like Insta Mantle, and then Superglide. But after the discovery of normal Insta Mantles, people quickly realized that Insta Mantle into Superglide is already possible without the 180 turn. If this was discovered by someone else, how long would it take? I think it's almost a year. Alright, Insta-Glide. And then we have backwards Superglide. I think it was very easy to think about what if sideways Superglides are possible after the discovery of normal Superglides. And then I think the obvious question after we found out sideways Superglides are possible was, what if backwards is possible too? It would just be a matter of time for someone else to discover this, like any moment. So it just goes to the E tier. Backwards Superglide. Okay, glide boost. I think it's just the tech that you would get a lot accidentally during your practice of Superglide wall bounces. Because of that, I think it just goes to the E tier. Glide boost. Glide bounce. It's Superglide wall bounce. It was discovered by me, but if I didn't discover this, it would just be discovered by someone else in only a few weeks, because the curiosity on this was at peak level. People were just so curious about if it's possible to do, you know? So yeah, a few weeks, meaning that the D tier. Okay, mantle jumping. So it's one of the movement techs I discovered in the past, and in my opinion, it's not really something you would get in your games by accident. I don't know, maybe once in 1,000 times, but even then, when you get it, you're not going to figure it out because you don't have the idea. I've never got this tech down even once by accident in any firing range session or in any game I played. It's just something that came to me. The idea is really complex, so you need to know that canceling a mantle puts you into coyote frames at the first place, and then you also have to know that those coyote frames make you considered on the ground. And just because you're, oh, okay, I'm considered on the ground, okay, then I can super jump. You know, in my opinion, if I did not discover this movement tech in the past, there's a high chance, very high chance that we would not have this movement tech exist even now. So it just goes to the S tier, right? Okay, gorilla jumping. First off, what the hell is this name? Why is it named gorilla jumping? Can someone please explain to me? And also, why do we call elite jumping? Like, why do we have to be elite people? Are you elite? I'm not elite. Are you? Okay, listen. After all, this tech, gorilla jumping, is actually mantle jumping. All you do differently is just hitting the ledge in front of you and just because you hit the ledge in front of you, it kills your horizontal momentum. And the only type of momentum left is vertical momentum. So it just throws you into the air. The reason I'm going to put this tech on the E tier is because this is so easy to get by accident when you're practicing normal mantle jumps. The movement tech with the weird name, where are you? Okay. So, mantle crouch, okay. With the discovery of mantle jumping, I also explained how mantle cancel mechanics work. Maybe not 100%, but I think it was just enough to lead to the discoveries of these two different movement techs, which are mantle crouch and mantle ladder. So I think it was kind of obvious that these were coming. If they were not discovered by RMSB, I think he just sped up this process, you know, this discovery process, because of his playstyle. Like, his playstyle was unique as fuck. But in my opinion, some other people would discover these. It would kind of take like a few weeks, I would say, because a lot of people were obsessed with practicing mantle jumping, and people would just find it. And I'm gonna put them on the D tier. Okay, mantle crouch. So it goes to the D tier, and also same for mantle ladder. Where are you? Okay, float jumping. Float jumping is not that crazy, bro. Like, someone else would find it, but like, it would kind of take a year, right? Okay, float jumping. Air dancing. Air dancing is another movement tech I discovered, but actually, in my opinion, I did not discover this movement tech because after I shared it on Apex Rollout's subreddit, there was a lot of comments under that post saying that it was already known that there was just a lot of people doing it. I think it just goes to the D tier. It would just be found by someone else in a few weeks. Yeah. Alright, ghost interactions. Quickly, just going to show that who invented it. So Seth invented it, okay? And he's also the guy who invented ghost jumping and ghost wall bounces. Even though I investigated ghost jumping even further and made it viable on real fights. But he is the inventor. So the first question we need to ask is it easy to get in your games by accident? And in my opinion, the answer is fairly often. But would you be able to figure out what happened to you, how it works, why it works, if you watched yourself, like maybe a recording of you doing this movement tech by accident? Like, you watch your own video and like trying to figure out how the hell did that happen, you know? You're asking, would you be able to figure out? I think it takes different type of perspective, because you have to see it. You have to see the details, what causes it. The knowledge of when you give your back on the zipline and look all the way down or all the way up, when you jump, the interact prompt is being appeared. This info, you know, this core tech, it would be found, but it could take a few years. It just goes to the A tier. Ghost interact. Thank you, Seth, for discovering this. Otherwise, we would just have to wait for a couple of years in order to discover ghost jumping, right? Because ghost jumping was only discovered because ghost interactions existed. So after the discovery of ghost interact, it was kind of a matter of time for both of these ghost jump and ghost wall bounce techniques to get discovered. But just because they are kind of a little bit more complex than all of these movement techs on the E tier, they kind of deserve to go into the D tier, right? So yeah, let's just showcase also. Yeah, and ghost wall bounce. Yeah, okay. So both of them are going to the D tier. And ghost wall bounce. And the last one in the ghost interactions category is hyper jump. We all just use scroll wheel most of the time, but not spacebar. In order to discover this, you have to break that habit. That's gonna be the main reason for putting this on a high tier. Is it also easy to get in your games by accident? And the answer is absolutely no. People would ask this question: what if I super jump on a zipline, on a horizontal zipline, but not once, but just twice? But it could take a few years. It goes to the A tier, hyper jump. Alright, next up we have some fundamentals on lurch techniques. We're gonna skip them. Momentum shift. The other name of it was redirecting, but now we're just calling it momentum shifting. But it's kind of basic. I'm just gonna skip this. But Tap Strafing, we're going to be including this, but it's gonna go to one of the low tiers simply because it already existed in Titanfall in the past. It was really easy to implement this on Apex, right? So Tap Strafing. We have Lurch Strafing next. So this is actually multiple RAS strafes. RAS strafe is also basically redirecting, which existed in the first days after the release. Okay, hear me out. During a fight, when you're shooting an enemy, you needed a tech that you could just do some lurch without changing your camera angle to the left and right, but just keep shooting the enemy. This was a necessity. This literally came from a struggle, okay? And that's why it would be found by someone else. Because even though the tech as an idea didn't exist, the struggle of movement players existed, and this struggle increases the curiosity. Yeah, that's the reason it's not going to go to S or A tier. At best, it's going to the B tier. Alright, Lurch Strafing. And the next one is Edge Stun-cancel. I think it's very easy to discover this, especially considering that you would get this a lot by accident in your game. So Edge Stun-cancel I'm not going to include on the list, right? It's not here, right? Oh, it's here. Okay, then Mantle Stun-cancel. Probably didn't include it, right? Oh my god, I included it. Okay, I'm going to respect the past me, and we have surfing. It just goes to the E tier in my opinion. Trimp. Trimp is a tech that should go to a low tier because it's in another movement tech you would get by accident in your games a lot. And it's easy to figure this out, how it works, why it works. So it just goes to the D tier. Geo Jumping is the next one. So in my opinion, this is much more complex than Trimp because there are many conditions for this movement tech. One of them is you have to have a certain angle on the wall, and another condition is you have to hit the wall on the correct spot. I think it's just enough conditions to make it a high tier on the tier list. It could take a few years for someone else to discover how it works. Yeah, Geo Jumping. Let's go. Alright, Stock Launch. I think this tech would easily go to the S tier if it didn't exist in other games, but I think it deserves to go into the C tier at least. It's because it's complex enough and it's also using the Rampart cube. Stock Launch. And these are just basic, okay. Void Passage, blah blah. Void Launch, okay. It's easy to get in your games by accident. After the release of this character, it would be found by someone else in a few weeks if it was never discovered. And Hedge Launch. This tech basically requires you to ask the question of, what if we can skip jump, but after this ability? So I would say it would take a few months. Hedge Launch. So we're just skipping all the basics. Alright, Sailing Surf. All you have to do in order to discover this movement tech is just doing it by accident. Yeah, the E tier. Alright, Slide through Tap Strafe. I think it's also easy to get by accident in your games because all you have to do in order to get this is just fail at throwing your jump pad in front of you. So you just miss it, like miss the jump pad, but you still want to take the jump pad, so you just turn 180 and take the jump pad. So it just goes to the E tier. Alright, another movement tech done on controller. It was discovered out of a struggle of movement players on controller not being able to tap strafe. I think it just goes to the C tier, a few months. Yeah. What do we have next? Jump Pad Wallrunning. I think it's not a tech that you would get in your games accidentally a lot. I think it would just be a rare case because I'm asking you, how many times you drop a jump pad this close to a wall, but not only that, also you take that jump pad towards that wall instead of taking the jump pad and going to an open area like in the air. Yeah, this makes the tech's discovery difficulty a little bit higher. It should just deserve going to the B tier. Jump Pad Wallrun. Fundamental grapple techniques. I think Grapple Hop is not one of these like basic techniques. I think it deserves a spot on the tier list, but not that high. It's actually the lowest tier. Yeah, okay. Grapple Bounce. So the question you need to ask in order to discover this movement tech is just, what if I grapple, but then I wall bounce, right? It's so simple to think about it. So it just goes to the E tier. And next one is Grapple Double-Bounce. It's much more complex than all of these grapple techniques. And it deserves a high place on the tier list. Alright. Infinite Grapple Climbing. This tech is not something that you would get in your games by accident, even once in a lifetime. No, you have to know what you're doing with this. It has its own complex inputs with complex input timing, and that's probably the reason that this tech was not discovered for 5 years after the release of the game, but last year it was discovered by Elgato. It easily goes to the S tier. Let's go. Grapple Scraping. So this is basically grappling on a wall, and when you attach to the wall, you're just changing your directions with the camera angle. I think it's basically slingshot, but on a wall, right? Yeah, would you get this in your games by accident? A lot. And the answer is no. How many times you grapple on a wall and then do a slingshot while looking at that wall? Let me prove my point actually. Let's go to the page and the history part, and then you can see that this was discovered by Searby in 2023. It means after 4 years since the release of the game. Look, I'm not even saying discovered. It was not shared for 4 years. Yeah, this tech deserves a high place. I would say a few years. Grapple Scrape. Sheila double climb. I don't think it's a tech that you would get in your games by accident also. And it's complex enough and unique enough to put this on high tier. Let's go. Okay, let's check corner wall run. I think it would just be a matter of time for someone else to discover it. People were just so curious about this legend's capabilities, right? Yeah, it just goes to the E tier. Okay, another tech that I discovered, it's actually called door dashing, not door launching. And it was decided by the most liked comment on my video. But the question is, how long would it take for someone else to discover this? In my opinion, it would just take a few months. Let's just put it on the C tier. Door dashing. The next one is Mantle Launch. I think it would just be a matter of time, right? It just goes to the E tier. Yeah. Alright, echo dashing. I don't think it's something that you would get by accident in your games also. Like, it would be rare. It could take a year. Okay, another movement tech that I discovered. It's Portal Cancel Superglide, or in short, Portal Glide. I think someone else would discover this movement tech, right? But it could take a year. Maybe even a few years. I'm gonna put it on A, okay? And Geyser Leap. We can include this. A few weeks, I would say. It would be discovered by someone else, right? Mag leaping, another movement tech I discovered. It's not done really well here. Moki, please update this. What is that? What is this? And there's no other showcase? Come on, man. Like, you can go like 3x higher than this. People are going to watch this and they're gonna be like, what is this technique, bro? Why would I use this? You don't even go high enough. In fact, you can, bro. Mag leaping was kind of easy to discover because all I had to ask as a question was, what if we can tap jump but without a zipline? But it's kind of complex, right? It deserves the C tier. This technique that is showcased here is actually not called Trident Momentum Storage, but something else, which is Trident Snuggle. So you just horizon ult a Trident and the Trident will be getting pulled towards that horizon ult. Of course, you're not going to be seeing the Trident getting pulled as an animation, but in its own game code, it's actually storing some speed. Because of that stored speed, you can just walk over the Trident, and when you jump off of the Trident, you will get a speed boost. And this is also not something that you would get in your games by accident. It deserves the S tier. Trident Snuggle. Bro, who discovered this? Come on, man. Like, where did this shit come from? Okay, next up we have some mysteries. I don't want to get into the mysteries, to be honest, but we're going to be looking at some famous removed techniques, and one of them is OG punch boosting. Actually came with a patch, and it was not even in the patch notes. It was discovered right after the patch, so I think it's just going to the E tier. Okay, there's no way we skip zip dashing. This shit was so fucking cool. So it doesn't have the showcase, so I just have it opened here. Let's check it. Look at that speed, like a demon. Would it be discovered by someone else? I think it could take a few years. Dang it. Why are you removed? So tap jump. So is it easy to discover this movement tech? I really don't think so. I think it's very complex, right? Because you're actually interacting with the magnets on these windows, and we literally didn't know anything about them in the past. This movement tech has its own complex inputs also, with complex input timing. Yeah, I think it deserves going to the S tier. There's a high chance that we would not see this movement tech existing in the past. The last one is Mag Bounce. Actually not going to be the last one though, because we have some leftovers here. Probably I missed all of them. But let's look at the Mag Bounce, okay? So basically, with the tap jump discovery, that discovery actually increased the curiosity on these windows, the magnets. If this technique was discovered before tap jumping was found, it would go to the S tier. But considering that it came after tap jumping, yeah, it just goes to the lower tiers. Okay. So we have some leftovers here. I think I just missed them. I don't know. So momentum shift is basically redirect. I think it just goes to the E tier. And then normal climb, the E tier, simply because it's just a variation, right? I think I missed void boop before. So let's take a look at it. So basically you're just colliding with an enemy at the end of your phase. And I think it would happen to a lot of people by accident. So okay, wall hug. It was just my mistake on Photoshop when I was making the pictures, because it doesn't even exist as a movement tech, so just ignore it. And wall launch is just a basic sparrow movement tech, so let's just ignore both of these. Okay, this is the final version of the tier list, and I want you to imagine that there's an alternative universe that these S tier movement techs don't even exist. Imagine that the inventor of Supergliding decided to jerk off the day they discovered Supergliding. They just decided to not play the game that day. Boom, bye-bye. No one else is discovering that shit. Probably. Same goes for U-Bounce. If in the past, like let's say we didn't have J existed in the game, probably there would just not be another person who would be so obsessed with wall interactions like he was. Probably wouldn't have this U-Bounce technique even to this day. And Mantle jumping is just so unique. Same goes for tap jumping. The common point of all of these movement techs is just you have to know what you're doing. You need to have some movement knowledge. Okay, I want to end this video with a movement tech in real life, just so you can just like and subscribe to the channel. Yeah.